This is the mission history for the third week of October from Pastor James Hwan. So let's jump right in with a really interesting question. When you think of Daegu, a huge city in South Korea, you probably think of things like textiles or maybe technology. But apples? I mean, why is this city famous for its apples? It seems kind of random, right? Well, turns out the answer is an incredible story that ties together medicine, faith, and, yep, a few small trees that traveled halfway across the world. Okay, so at the very center of this whole story is a man named Woodbridge O. Johnson. He was the second medical missionary to ever serve in Daegu, and his arrival was a total game changer. Seriously, without him, the introduction of modern Western medicine to that entire part of Korea would have been set back in a major way. So let's get to know this guy a little bit. He was born in Illinois back in 1869. His whole life's direction really shifted when he was in university. He heard a sermon from the famous evangelist Dwight Moody, and it just hit him. He knew he had to become a missionary. But here's the thing. He didn't just have the passion, he got prepared. He went to medical school, graduated, and then on top of that went to New York for even more specialized training. He wanted to be the absolute best he could be. Now that's what you call dedication. And this wasn't a solo mission at all. His wife, Edith Parker, was right there with him just as committed. She went and studied midwifery and infant care, getting all the practical skills she would need for the life they were about to lead. It was a real partnership, a shared calling that they both worked so hard for. All right, so their training is complete. The next chapter for them was a massive one, a journey to the other side of the planet, to a place that was then known as Joseon. Now, get a load of this timeline because it happened so fast. In 1897, he's officially appointed as a missionary. Then, he marries Edith on October 28th, and just 3 weeks later, 3 weeks, on November 18th, they are on a ship crossing the Pacific Ocean. There was no long honeymoon, no time to settle into married life. It was just an immediate, all-in commitment to get started on their mission. Just incredible. So, after that long voyage, you might think they'd get a bit of a break, but their arrival in Korea was anything but quiet. In fact, they were met with an urgent crisis that would kick off the very first moments of their new life. Just try to imagine this. You have just finished a grueling, weeks-long journey across the ocean. You finally step onto solid ground, and before you can even catch your breath, a telegram is handed to you. It says a fellow missionary's wife is in labor, and they need a doctor, right now. There was zero time to rest. Duty called the second they arrived. And this right here, it paints such a vivid picture. It sounds like a scene straight out of a movie, doesn't it? On Christmas Day, of all days, Johnson rides into the city through the south gate on a pony, and his wife Edith is being carried in a palanquin. This is how they made their grand entrance into Daegu, not with a welcome party, but by rushing to an emergency on one of the most important holidays of the year. So Johnson got straight to work as the director of the Daegu Jejengwon, which was the local medical center. But his legacy wasn't just going to be about medicine. See, he brought something else with him on that long journey, something that would, quite unexpectedly, change the entire region forever. And here it is. This is the heart of the story, this dual legacy. On the one hand, you've got Johnson, the pioneering doctor, bringing modern medicine to Daegu. But on the other hand, he was the guy who brought apple saplings with him all the way from America. He literally planted the seeds that would grow to make Daegu the apple capital of Korea. So there's the answer to our question from the beginning. What's so amazing is that this history is still there. It's not just in books. If you ever find yourself in Daegu, you can literally walk in Johnson's footsteps. You can go see the Daegu Jail Church, the very first one. You can walk up Chohna Hill, which was the missionary quarter. You can even pay your respects at their cemetery, Eunhye Garden, and then see the whole story laid out at the Mission History Museum. It's all still there. It really makes you think, doesn't it? A doctor just packs a few little tree saplings for a trip across the world, and more than 100 years later, an entire city's identity is tied to that fruit. It kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. What small seeds that we plant today will grow into the unexpected legacies of tomorrow? Pastor James Hong, who served as a missionary in China and now serves in Maryland, USA, is a researcher of Korean mission history. He delivers his book Remember and Repay, 52 Weeks of Mission Meditation weekly.